Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are going to talk about the new F-15s in this video. There are 3 new F-15s, and if I'm honest with you, they're all very similar to each other. So we'll go through the basic differences between them, but yeah, if you get one, you get all. The only real difference is the missiles that they get access to, and also what fuel tanks they get access to. So the first one is the F-15C MSIP-2. This is the American new F-15C. It's coming after the F-15A, which you can see here. The major difference is that this one gets access to the AN/APG-63V1 and also the HMD and the RWR, the AN/ALR-56C. It also gets the AMRAAM, which I'm sure a lot of people have been looking forward to, and also AIM-9Ms and a bunch of countermeasures too. The cool thing about this one is it also gets access to some new fuel tanks. So you can see here it has these fuel tanks which are connected kind of to the air intakes. So if you want to, you can actually take these off and with different custom loadouts. So you can either have the additional external ones, or you can have the ones which are attached to these sides here, which I think is pretty awesome. The MSIP gets access to AIM-9Ms, and AIM-120s, and AIM-7Ms, and AIM-9Ls. It also gets a bunch of different bombs, fuel tanks, and also the GBU-8 2,000-pound TV-guided missiles. Sorry, TV-guided bombs, my bad. If you compare this to the F-15J Kai, which is the new Japanese F-15, this is after the F-15J in the Japanese tech tree. It does not get those fuel tanks which you can mount here. Instead, it just gets the externals. It does have the AN/APG-63V1 radar and also the JAPR RWR, so a different one, but it does get the HMD, which is quite cool. Also has the 20mm, plus the difference is the secondary loadouts. So it doesn't get the guided bombs, but does get some bombs and also drop tanks. The AIM-9Ls and also AIM-7Ms and AM-4s and AM-3s, AIM-9Ls and AIM-9Ms. So you basically have the IRCCM AM-3s and the AM-4, which is a different active radar homing missile compared to the AMRAAM. There are slight differences between them in general weight and also the maximum overload. This has 40 instead of the AMRAAM having 35. So technically this one is better, but by a very small amount, and also you lose the guided bombs and you lose those fuel areas here. It's still technically an F-15C. Then you got the BAZ, or should I say the improved BAZ. The improved BAZ is an F-15C. It has access to the AN/APG-63V1 radar, so just like all of them, has the head-mounted display, and also the AN/ALR-56C RWR, so very similar to the American one. Then you have, of course, the Vulcan once again, just like all of them do, and you do get those extra fuel tanks if you want them on the sides of the intakes. This set of fuel tanks looks really cool and is really well modeled. You can also bring the externals as well. This thing can bring over 100 minutes of fuel if you want it to, which is quite fun. The secondary loadouts, once again, AIM-120As are here, along with the AIM-7Ms and AIM-9Ls, but you do have access to the Python 3s if you want to bring them on. The Python 3s don't have IRCCM, but they do have a better maximum overload than the AIM-9M. You also can just add AIM-9M those, so if you want to do that, you can do that too. You also have the guided bombs, which are here, the GBU-8s, and also other bombs, which the F-16C from the American tech tree takes. So pretty much the American F-15C is the universal one. The improved BAZ and the F-15J have slight quirks to them to make them different than the American one, but they all do pretty much the same stuff well. They all have the active radar homing missiles, they all have the very powerful IR-guided missiles, and they all have a metric ton of fuel now compared to what we saw previously. So this is a huge upgrade over the F-15A, which is kind of shown in its BR. This one is a 13.0, which is the new BR that they're bringing in for these aircraft, and the previous F-15, the A, is sat itself at 12.3 at the moment, which is kind of crazy. One of the things I will say about these fuel tanks, though, is you cannot get rid of them. So if you decide to bring external fuel tanks. If you bring these ones, you have to keep the extra weight on, even if you use all of the fuel. Whereas these ones you can drop once they're done, or drop whenever you feel like. So just to kind of take that into account. The vehicle research doesn't seem too bad. You know, the stock setup is obviously poor, but welcome to air and welcome to how this is set up. But I think the fact that this has additional ground ordnance will help it quite a lot, especially in ground battles if you decide to run it at top tier for America. I think the major reason why people are going to use these things though is the TWS mode along with the AIM 120 AMRAAM. It's actually going to be really cool to see stuff like that because of the fact that you're going to have that new kind of missile mode replay system that you can see and kind of see what's going on there, which I think is going to be really cool and hopefully will be nice to kind of see. So the vehicle has access to a ton of cool stuff. All of the F-15Cs do, and it is a just drastic upgrade over the standard F-15. Not entirely sure if it's still going to be as good as something like the F-16C, for example, but it does have a cool cockpit in it, as you can see for the F-15. So you have the RWR, you have this, which is all of the different weapon selections. So you can see you can actually, with the weapon selector, move between them, which is super cool. And at the same time, you can see the chaff and the flares move. This is just like creme de la creme. I don't know how else to put it. And then if we get rid of a drop tank, like it probably should change that too at some point. But yeah, so you can get rid of these drop tanks. You just can't get rid of the other drop tanks that are there. So just take that into account when it's set up. But yeah, I really like that display. I think it's really cool. And I'm very happy that that kind of exists. You have the Search PD, you have TWS, of course, and you can use the AIM 120 with them. Technically, the AIM 120 has a really long guidance. They were saying that on the dev server, or sorry, on the dev sneak peek, that these have a they can guide themselves after 10 kilometers. So as long as you launch them and they can kind of guide themselves in, that's good. The other thing is the missiles have a new sound when you fire them, which is cool, and as they go away. There you go. It's going to get confused now. And also, as a missile goes behind you, what is also really cool is the fact that once a missile goes past you, if it's going supersonic, you will actually hear like a tiny sonic boom as it flies past you. And I think that's really awesome because of the fact that I don't think anything else does that kind of going forward. So yeah, this thing is going to be really good, but the question is, since it's still, you know, the F-15, is it going to be any good at dogfighting? Is it going to be... It's obviously going to be good at the start of the battle, just like a lot of these vehicles are. But the real question is, can it keep it up as it goes along? And that is always going to be, you know, a question for this thing. Where can it still fight, or can it dogfight F-16s when it gets to that period of the battle? Is it able to, you know, set those things up? Or are you just going to be in a setup where you can't, and you have to basically just fight by yourself in this brick of a vehicle? But from a missile point of view, it's looking pretty good. From an AMRAAM point of view, it's looking beautiful too. Don't worry about that. That's a weird bug that's in the dev server now. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this thing. I think I would enjoy it quite a lot too. Look after yourselves. Peace be with you. I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.